pranam to all of you, and thank you for joining our spiritual meeting for the month of June 2024. The topic that was communicated for this meeting is music as an expression of consciousness. So it's quite a beautiful title, a little bit different from the normal spiritual discussions that we have. But before we delve a little bit deeply into this topic, I just want to draw your attention to something. You see, look at it very carefully as actually I'm speaking to all of you. Everyone who is actually in this meeting is listening to what is actually being communicated, right? Now, you see, we are more actually evolved in what the topic is, what the spiritual discussion is. That is, our connection is more with these images of what is being communicated, who is communicating, who is actually listening. But we miss one thing, that there is this Almighty, the God, or that very ocean in which all these waves are actually appearing, or this event is actually taking place, right? Within this group. So you see, in that background is this presence of consciousness. Just, you see, draw your attention towards its presence. It's silent and it is actually there. And that is exactly where we connect this particular title, that music as an expression of this ever present changeless reality, consciousness. So we are talking about two aspects here, that how you see music can connect us to this ever present changeless reality, consciousness. So I'll just take a few examples, but before taking these examples, you see, uh, music actually plays a very subtle and a very big role in our spiritual development, right? In our spiritual journey, it's like a bridge, right? On one side is basically the world of images, and on the other side of this bridge, where music is actually connecting us, is to this universal presence of consciousness, right? And then you see, music transcends, you see, words and language. Here we say that we are actually using the language of music, right? And then you see, because this music actually connects us to our true being, or to our true nature, you see, in a way, we can also say that it is also helping us in connecting and realizing the presence of unity. A simple example in the day to day life would be that when a number of people are gathered and are listening to a music, you see, everything is actually integrated as a whole. There is a unity, right? So, music as an expression of consciousness, of course, it is actually very good to listen to music, but music itself plays a very big role in our spiritual journey of connecting us, you see, with the ever present changeless reality, consciousness. So, I'd like to take two examples in this. Let's take the example of a flute. Now, when you listen to the music of that flute, when the flute is actually played, you see, what happens is that you float away into a different world. You see, your mind is no longer really connected with your thinking, your feeling, your day-to-day routine, the images in your surroundings. That music actually takes the mind itself to a more subtle world, right? And this is not anything new that I'm actually expressing. Many who have actually undertaken taken that form of meditation will actually experience that. Now, you see, what happens is that if you stop that music after, say, 5 or 7 minutes, what happens? You see, there is suddenly a great silence, right? And actually, that silence is the silence of that ever present changeless reality consciousness, and you suddenly connect with basically what is the goal of your spiritual journey. You see, you can try this and you will actually find that actually this is correct, right? Let's take another very simple example. You see, if you go on YouTube or you have a clip in which there is the sound of a waterfall, right? Now, you see, uh, as far as the human physical body actually is concerned, where our navel is, you see, just behind the navel, there is a network of nerves joining at a point about 2 centimeters inside our navel, right? And this network of nerves, which is actually joining at a point, is called the solar plexus, right? The network of nerves from one side comes from the stomach, the liver, the spleen, the intestines, and from the other side, the nerves are coming from your peripheral and central nervous system and joining at that point. Now, this solar plexus, this junction of nerves, actually connects to what you call as your astral body, for the body of desires, for the body of emotions, right? So whenever actually you are depleted of energy, you see, that means that you are depleted of emotional energy, or you are actually depleted of, energy in that region of the belly, or in that region surrounding the solar plexus, right? That is when you feel very down. So, you see, Rishi Master Bensar Bruno and Michael Ivanhoe had pointed out something very beautiful. You see, when you listen to the flow of a waterfall, it's very pleasing to the human ear, right? But then you see, this music or the sound which is being produced by the flow of that waterfall actually energizes your solar plexus, and you are actually filled with actually solar energy, right? So this exercise can be taken up very easily, by carrying just a clip, of a waterfall sound from YouTube in your WhatsApp, or in your mobile somewhere. But then you see, again, connecting this to the title of this topic, that music as an expression of consciousness. Say you sit down in a room and you put on the sound of a waterfall. So just listen to the sound of the waterfall for, say, about 7 minutes or 10 minutes. Then what happens actually, you see, again, just like the flute, if you switch off that sound, you see that music or that sound which is being produced by the flow of that waterfall takes you again away from your current environment, your thoughts, your feelings, the images, actually visual images arising. And when you switch off that music, suddenly there is great silence for a while, right? And that silence again is the silence of the presence of consciousness, and it actually connects you there. So you see that how beautifully, this is just two examples. There are many examples, the drums, the Indian guitar, and so on. What one can keep on actually going with this. But do you see that if we recognize and realize the right use of music as an expression of consciousness, how that music actually connects us to the pure, ever present, changeless reality, call it God or Brahman or whatever, by whatever name, you see that consciousness, and basically you have a direct experience of that peace, which is the very goal of your spiritual journey. So it's a beautiful expression of, how music in a subtle way connects us to the reality. So having given that brief introduction, I'll request Rajiv ji to, uh, to take over, to give us his talk.
Thank you, Anil,
Rajiv ji?
and my pranam to the valued audience. Uh, with that very fine introduction, I'll take the step forward. I'll share a few examples of the music which many of us might have heard earlier. I will keep it simple so that we can all relate to it. And at any cross section, I'm totally fine if anybody wants to ask any clarification or seek any further detail. I'm open to any discussion at any point. So friends, without any delay, I will start sharing a few slides. In particular, I'll be talking about three songs which I think have influenced uh, our thinking over the last 50, 60, 70 years. So I will share the backdrop, I will share the people who have contributed to this creative process, who have thought through the message that they are trying to convey. I mean, the dedication of these people is phenomenal. Uh, every song is again pointing to the reality that Anilji was mentioning. So we will go through a few examples. And as I requested earlier, I'm open to discussion at any point. So let's get started with that, please. Okay, friends, just to confirm that we can all see the slides. Is it visible to all of us? Please.
Yes.
Thank you. So the first little piece that I will take the liberty to share about is coming from a movie called Amar Prem. Uh, the movie is about 50 years old. The title Amar Prem translates roughly to Immortal Love. This was a movie with a very high profile team. I mean, probably the highest profile team we had at that point. You can see on the screen the hero and the heroine, that is Rajesh Khanna and Sharmila, extremely talented. And for certain reason, this movie was prepared on a very low budget. It wasn't a high budget movie, but the theme that they captured and the songs they presented was almost like immortal. Like you can talk about it even today. In particular, the movie was known for the music which was composed by R.D. Burman, Rahul Burman, and in particular a song which is the Chingari Koi Bharke. Again, I will talk a little further as we go along. It was a super hit song. Uh, the expression that it conveys, the grounding that it has. I mean, both the screenplay, the song, the way they relate to the culture. I mean, naturally, the artist is trying their best to convey the meaning which people can relate to, which everyday life conveys. So their sensitivity to the ground, to the culture, to the environment is phenomenal. And in this particular case, the actors, in particular Rajesh Khanna and Sharmila, I mean, you can almost say that they were meant for this role. They were not just acting on screen. Yes, they are, performing a role, but it is very natural. The message is very good. I mean, just to give you one simple dialogue from that movie, which is still popular. I mean, he mentions a sentence to her, and that sentence is still known, going back 50 years. Well, it's a very simple sentence. I don't like tears. So this sentence is still known to many of us that it is that popular. So the meaning that these people have conveyed is phenomenal. Just to mention the team that worked together. I mean, this is the complete musical setting. The music was by R.D. Burman, whom you can see in the center of the picture. R.D. Burman, one can safely say, if you look at a person who is born in a well-to-do family, we say he or she was born with a silver spoon. I can take the liberty to say he was born with a harmonium. His father, which is S.D. Burman, was a phenomenal success. I mean, all their life is dedicated to music. And this trio, I mean, the caliber is phenomenal. They have worked together on many, many themes. They are very well regarded. They are very successful. So Kishore Kumar, whom you can see on the left side, tremendously popular. Like I've heard of stories and stories that when he's singing on stage, the audience will not let him leave the stage. At one point, again, this is sort of coming from the ground, that he is about to leave the stage because he has finished those 7, 8 songs that was planned to sing. The organizers went to him and said, "Sir, please don't leave the stage. They will set the whole stadium on fire." They had to point a pistol to him. "Please don't leave the stage." I mean, this is going too far, but the music was their energy, their life. It is very sincere. Now, just very briefly introducing the extent to which R.D. Burman, he experimented with different style of instruments, different types of, music, be it the Arabic music, be it the Western music, to the extent that he could blow into beer bottles and produce a music of different type, which became the title music for another movie. Now, Rajesh Khanna, again, who happens to be the prime actor for this particular movie we are looking at, Amar Prem, he was the first superhero of the Indian film industry. I mean, if we talk of popularity, it is phenomenal. People used to sleep on the streets to buy a ticket for his movie. So, like these people are mega personalities, very, very well known and very talented. So, if they are performing a role on the screen, it's a given. Like they have analyzed the character, they have gone into the character, they are projecting that. So it's their dedication, their delivery is phenomenal. Now, taking the step further, the particular song that is Chingari Koi Bhadke, I will give a few stanzas and I will explain the meaning as well. Uh, just as a backdrop, this song was written by Anand Bakshi. Again, very high profile, highly talented songwriter. I mean, he has produced hundreds of songs. This song in particular was his own choice that I like this song, having produced hundreds. So there is a lot going for this song in particular. And again, there's the song is picturized as you can see with the little shot we have here. It is by way of a boat ride. The couple is going in a boat, and in many, many cases, this theme has been used that we are going across, we are on a journey, we are heading somewhere. It's actually the inner journey that is being projected, but naturally on the screen, they are presenting by way of a boat going, and the couple is having a dialogue. And in this case, Rajesh is singing the song, which is Chingari Koi Bhati. So now coming to the song, and as always, my suggestion is I'm open to questions at any point. The link is here. You can enjoy the song at any point. Even the words, the lyrics are all available. So I leave that with you. I will highlight a few points again for our common understanding. So the song in particular, the wording, I'll try my best to provide a little bit of translation as well. It says, Chingari koi bhadke, to savan use bujhaye. That is, if there is a spark, the rain can extinguish it. Common theme, it takes a step further. It says, सावन जो अगन लगाए उसे कौन बुझाए. That means if the fire is lit by the rain, who can extinguish it? And obviously, the songwriter is not giving us the answer. He's leaving it to our imagination, to our reflection, to look within. It is up to us because the answer has to come from within. Now, again, the song has got about 16 couplets. I'll only share one more and I'll leave it to you. It says, Majhar mein naiya dole, to माझी पार लगाए. If the boat dwindles in the river, the boatsman naturally takes it to the other end. माझी जो नाव डुबोए, उसे कौन बचाए? When the boatman drowns the boat, who is going to save it? Again, the songwriter, he is only highlighting the point of reflection within, going within. He is deliberately not giving the answer. Now, as an audience, we have the pleasure. Obviously, the music score is very good. The presentation, I feel, is very well done, justified, and so on. So it's a pretty good package to get us thinking. As Anilji also mentioned, we can pause the recording at some point and enjoy it and, of course, reflect. I'll just mention one more thing and I'll get to the next song, please. The lady we are referring to, Sharmila Tagore, she has the lineage from obviously Tagore family. Rabindranath Tagore was the first Indian poet, scholar, writer who got the Nobel Prize about 100 years back. So the lineage is pretty rich. And the next song that I'm going to talk about also has lineage from Tagore family, but that's not talked about very often, but I'll leave it there. The lineage of these people, I mean, if we talk about, say, Tagore, he was an absolute genius in terms of music. He had a full institution for music. Rabindra Sangeet is well known in that part of the world. So there is a lot of music being talked about, discussed, and of course, shared. Taking the next step, which is the second song that I'll talk about briefly, uh, this lady that we are talking about now is Meena Kumari. Uh, we can talk a lot about her life. She was born, unfortunately, in a very difficult situation. The family had practically nothing to go by. And the things were that bad that her dad would leave her outside an orphanage, hoping that somebody will pick her up. Matter of chance that didn't happen, but she had some, as the luck would have it, some insect bites on her face, discontinued. So starting from such humble backgrounds, she had to start acting at a very young age just to, make ends meet. Luckily, she got pretty good with the stuff. She got good breaks, and she was a phenomenal success. Extremely liked by the industry. She eventually was known as the tragedy queen of the film industry at that point. Yep. So the links are here. You can certainly go through the, recording, etc. My apologies. There's a particular song that I will refer to. The song is composed by her. It is written by her, sung by her. And I'll explain a bit further as to how much effort has gone into that song. This is a song of her life. She's talking about her reflection. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. Uh, her success speaks for itself. So starting from such humble background, she rises to become the top-notch actress. Uh, Going back almost 60 years, there were three nominations for the Best Actress. Repeat, three nominations for the Best Actress. And the three nominations were Meena Kumari, Meena Kumari, Meena Kumari. So I'm sure we can guess who got the Best Actress award. The award to Meena Kumari was for this movie, which I have mentioned here. It is for Saab Bibi and Gulam. And it was that popular that the censor board had objected to a particular scene. I have shared that scene, that this scene for that time was inappropriate. We can't have it going to the public. So this scene was deleted. Now, she has acted with practically the top-notch actors, very well regarded. She got married to a pretty high-profile director. So it's a huge success. And this is another of the great actors that we have had. Uh, Again, I mean, life has its own dynamics. So here you can see with another prominent hero of the film industry. So the song that she has written herself, sung herself, it is coming from her. Unfortunately, she passed away at a pretty young age. This is going back almost 52 years. So the song is Chand Tanha Hai, Asman Tanha. Alone is the moon, sky is lonely again. दिल मिला है कहाँ कहाँ कहाँ. It has been to so many dwelling places, but my heart is still lonely. I do understand that any translation has an element of approximation, but luckily these words are well known, so one can get the gist of it. She goes on to say, जिंदगी क्या इसी को कहते हैं. Is this what we call love, what we call life? जिस्म तन्हा है और जान तन्हा. These words are great coming from Meena Kumari herself. Body is alone, soul is alone. So I would again take the liberty to suggest that you can spend 5-10 minutes whenever you like. You can look at her recording, it is readily available. You can look at the translation thereof. Again, it is easily available. And one more slide about the same great actress, which is Meena Kumari. This movie, which is listed here called Pakiza, she worked on this movie with her husband. Unfortunately, the couple had a very rough patch. The movie was stalled for about 15, 16 years. Eventually, somehow the movie was completed and it was released, and the movie was a great success in terms of, again, music. She practically passed away when the movie was released. So when she passed away, this is the last moment of her life practically. She had no money. She asked the maid at the house, how much money is there at home? And the answer was, in that translation, roughly $5. Matter of chance that later on, lots of funds came through because of the other producers owing her money, etc. But her journey was very difficult. So this message that she is conveying, Chand Tanha Hai, Asman Tanha, I think says a lot about the strength of the thought, the music that she is able to connect. I will just point to one more thing and then we can get to the next song, which is again very popular. This particular recording of her own words and her own, contribution was coordinated by a great music director. We'll talk about him shortly. I mentioned about him earlier also, Payam Sir. He was very careful that I must do justice to what Meena Kumari was trying to project. It is not a commercial venture. He wanted to do the justice. So I will just now get on to the next song, which is coming from Khayyam Saab. I have mentioned this movie before. The name of the movie is Umrao Jan. It is a classical piece, uh, a masterpiece from Khayyam Saab again. I did mention about it last year. If you look at the research that he does, in fact, he says in one of the interviews that because Meena Kumari's Pakiza, which I just mentioned a few minutes back, had worked on a similar theme, it was a challenge for me to do justice to Umrao Jan, which is coming after 10 years. Umrao Jan is roughly 82 release. The work that the team has done is humbling. In fact, the picture that we have here is Khayyam Saab with the great singer that is Asha Bhosle. He talks about the negotiations he had with Asha Bhosle. It is very, very, very high level and very honest. In fact, he is in tears when he describes that. Asha ji used to sing at a very high pitch. And Khayyam Saab was of the opinion that for this particular movie, the pitch should be a shade lower. And they were having serious discussions. At one point, Asha ji said, look, I'm not interested. And this is not a commercial discussion. She was about to leave the set. And Khayyam Saab is in tears when he's describing that. And he says, eventually we got to an understanding. Asha ji delivered the song beautifully. In fact, songs beautifully. Umrao Jan has a fair few numbers. The dedication of these people, the honesty of these people is humbling. Like, it is not a commercial venture at all. Of course, the movie was successful, it got good recognition, etc. The performance by the heroine, which is Rekha, is admired almost endlessly. It is really valued that she could perform that role. So going along, I do want to mention the person who is behind this movie, uh, Muzaffar Ali. Uh, you can spend as much time as you like looking at his creative expression. He is a marketing executive. He is an executive from the uh, air industry. He's a fashion designer, and he's passionate about this type of music. Call it Sufi music if you like. The extent to which he goes, I mean, in this particular case, his theme was people who migrate to another place, how do they adjust to the new place? Whether it is, at the national level, at the state level, at the international level. He's very, very, very passionate. He talks at length. The music that he works on, obviously, he is the person who puts it all together, very honest. I mean, the talent is there. He's creative. He has put the pieces together. So, coming to the particular song from Umrao, this again, the story is coming back like 200 years ago. It's the story of a young girl who has been kidnapped and she somehow gets to the point that she is able to sing. She is very good with singing, good with dancing, and she is very well accepted by that particular society. She is doing well. And she is at a point now when she is going to the place that she originally comes from. So naturally, the emotions are pretty high. And she is expressing herself. She's, of course, singing and dancing appropriately. So the wording of the song is ये क्या जगह है दोस्तों ये कौन सा दयार है this place my dear friends what kind of a world it is so the honesty with which she is coming across is phenomenal and of course she has done full justice to it the facial expression the way she is looking at that direction where her home was early. So that's what she's saying. Ade nigaah tak jahan gubar hi gubar hai. As far as the eye can see, there is only dust storms. There's a lot of meaning behind these words, and the way it is projected on screen does full justice to it. And now this is the final point, which is the climax of that particular movie. Again, the director, the music, the words, they all come together. So she can see behind the screen her mother standing there. And she is about to meet her. So the wording is extremely specific, simple, but catching the whole gist here. It says, बुला रहा है कौन मुझको चिल मनो के उस तरफ. Who is calling me from the other side? मेरे लिए भी क्या कोई उदास बेकरार है. Is somebody out there restless for me, eagerly waiting for me? So this again, as I briefly mentioned, the team has done full justice. Whether it is the song writer part, it is the music composition. I have mentioned Payam Saab is very, very honest. When you listen to his interview, you can see that it can't be better than that. Rekha, the actress, has done full justice in that. So without disclosing too much about the movie as such, it's not fair, but I am more than happy to leave it with you. I will finish my humble presentation with the slide which talks about what we started off with, that it is the consciousness which is all prevailing. There's nothing outside. It is all the manifestation thereof. So friends, with that, I will conclude my presentation, and I will leave the floor with the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajeev ji. It's a very beautiful presentation because it's a difficult topic, to connect it with the reality. But one thing we can see that how you see consciousness itself expresses through all these artists and the discussions, and then the songs are chosen, the music is then, put together, and then it's left very openly, that you see, like the last one, that who is there, waiting for me on the other side? Is it a human being, or is it consciousness that has been waiting forever and ever and will keep waiting until you turn around and start looking at it? Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for a beautiful presentation. Vijayji, can you please? Is Vijayji there?
Hari Om. Welcome everyone. Today's topic is a beautiful topic because it is music as an expression in the wake of consciousness. Now, music is a form of art that is also termed as a language, which is expressed through thoughts and feelings and transcends thoughts and feelings. The topic is such that when we look at it from music, we need to find out and go back towards silence and consciousness from which everything emerges. From that state of changeless, ever existing reality, which is pure absolute consciousness, there emerges this changing phenomena, which is an expression of the changeless. Because that changeless is the potential unmanifested aspect, and the manifestation that we see and hear is the changing phenomena as the dynamic aspect, as the manifested aspect. Within that manifested aspect, which is an expression in itself of the changeless, all this is an expression of the changeless. Within the gamut of this manifestation that we see, but music is a language that takes one into a different frequency level at all, completely, because from silence emerges thought. Within the circumstances of this manifestation, thought creates words, language, and that language is expressed through the language of music. And that music obviously is an expression of its core, its substratum, which is silence, which is consciousness. So going back, one can see that music in itself, as is the entire manifestation, is an expression of consciousness. But how does that relate for the aspirant, for the devotee, for that who is seeking that ultimate, to go back to that source from where one came from, to find out one's true nature, which is that pure, ever, eternal consciousness. How does one go back through it? Music is one aspect on that path to revert back rather than getting engrossed within this manifestation, within the world of images. One of the paths, which is termed as a pathless path, because one is not going any place, reaching any place. One is going from here to now, because it is here and now, that changeless. Music is only a mode, a pathless mode, as it were, but a mode nonetheless. So music takes one away from the binding limitations of thoughts, words, feelings, and all these images that we see around us. Because then that entire mind, intellect gets immersed in that music. Because from silence, as mentioned before, from silence emerges thoughts, and from thoughts emerges words, and then that music as well. Then that music takes one away from thoughts, feelings, because it initially starts with thoughts and feelings, but then that very music, which starts from thoughts and feelings, transcends that very thoughts and feelings. It is left behind, and the mind transcends thoughts and feelings into a different wavelength, a different frequency, to transcend the mind, as it were. For example, devotional music. There are many, many saints and sages who have immersed themselves in devotional music. In India, they have, Mirabai, Narsi Mehta. For example, Saint Francis of Assisi, one of the greatest saints from Italy, from Assisi. He used to listen to the birds, the, twittering of the birds, the music of the birds, and be completely immersed in that glory of manifestation, to transcend manifestation. That is what music can do as an expression of that consciousness, because it is like a string that takes you from this world of images, leaving behind thoughts and images and words, and to transcend them into back to one's home, the original home from where one came from, which is that pure consciousness, which is even here and now. We are that very thing that we are seeking. We are the changeless, but for some reason, there is a veil of ignorance that is covering, which has to be removed, and music is one pathway. So that vibrational tuning through the mode of music, that vibrational frequency, when one tunes oneself to that frequency, the entire edifice, the entire edifice, as it were, of this limited notional I, the ego, which is ever immersed in this manifestation, is transcended, because that notional I, ego, drops away through this method of music, because that mind is transcended to immerse back into that source from where one arose, because that I drops away, and the revelation of that truth, which ever existed even here and now, is revealed. So that synchronicity, that synchronicity of tuning and reaching back to that source, is what music provides. It is very, very important for that emotional aspect, that feeling, to come out in the initial stages, to provide the seeker and the devotee and the aspirant on the spiritual path to use that as a technique to transcend those very emotions, those feelings and thoughts. But in the initial stages, you have to use that as a ladder. It is like climbing onto the roof. You need a ladder, and the ladder of thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And once you've reached the top, your goal, the ladder is no more required. Music is the pathway. And when that happens, the revelation of truth, the I, the ego, drops away and is in consonance with that entire cosmos, that eternity. Because eternity is our true nature. Silence is the only truth. We are that which we are seeking. Music is a very, very important tool, as it were, on the path of spiritual growth, to drop away this little I, little ego, which then can be transcended itself. This topic of music as an expression of consciousness is a beautiful topic. It's a truth, because music, this entire manifestation, is also an expression of that very consciousness. Music forms a part of it, but music forms a very important tool to be able to transcend that very music itself. To be ever aware, be immersed in silence, because that is, music itself emerges from that very silence. Silence is the only truth, and music is only an expression of that absolute pure silence. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vijayji. Well expressed. You connected music to the very reality. So I think we had a good coverage and an overview of music as an expression of consciousness, and how music connects us to consciousness if we use it for our spiritual journey. So with that, I thank all of you for joining.